Boston Celtics. Let's talk about last year first before I kind of get into this year. Last year was so much fun. I do not remember having that much fun watching basketball in a long time. The Celtics team that went to the finals last year made me smile and laugh and cry and be so angry all at the same time. Just it was a beautiful time. They came up short, obviously, in the finals. I will say this, if you go back and watch my predictions video, the only reason I'm mad is because I thought the Celtics would put up more of a fight on their home court in Game 6. I predicted they would win that and then lose Game 7, but the Celtics had already kind of folded at that point. Now, I just... Oh, well, I didn't know that would happen. I didn't realize that they would kind of, at a certain point, just kind of realize that they were doomed by the hands of the chef. But at the same time, I truly felt like I had my hand on the pulse on that one, and I'm very proud of that. But, obviously, even though the Celtics lost, I was so just happy with last year. Obviously, when you get that far, you kind of wish that you would get to the end and win the whole thing because you never know what's going to happen the next year or 2 years later. I mean, you never know. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum could have blew out their ACLs and missed this entire year and then blew them out again. They're never the same, and then they both leave in free agency. You just never know what could happen at any point. So when you get that far, you hope and pray that you can make it and you could win. But, obviously they weren't able to finish the deal. But we're hoping that they'll be back this year, and if early goings are any indication, there's a good shot because the Boston Celtics have been the best team in basketball this year so far. At one point, they won 9 straight. That streak was just snapped the other night at the hands of the Chicago Bulls. But, I mean, you've lost 2 games in the regular, in 4 quarters. And then you've lost 2 games in overtime to a really talented, young, hungry Cleveland Cavaliers team. And other than that, you've won every game and you've beaten people badly. I watched them beat the Hawks by 20 when, the bench basically, the Boston Celtics bench beat the Atlanta Hawks by 20. Sam Hauser had 4 or 5 threes. Peyton Pritchard had 4 or 5 threes. Grant Williams had 4 or 5 threes. Al Horford had a couple of 3. Like, they're just bombing away. And, Coach Mazzulla is really, really getting these guys prepared, and really, they're all buying into his system. And really, it's an interesting system of, you've got some mid-range stuff like Jaylen Brown's going to be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum's going to be Jason Tatum, Al Horford is still going to shoot from the mid-range sometimes, but other than that, it is layups, dunks, or threes. And, I think that's the way to go. I really do. Because in today's NBA, analytically, it's just not smart to be living off mid-range jumpers all the time. And, a lot has been kind of talked about the Celtics defense being, middle of the road, only like 20th or so in the league right now. But if you kind of look and deep dive into the numbers, they are giving up, I think, like 78% field goal percentage from mid-range. Like, just absurd numbers that, like, don't make sense. And even contested mid-range jumpers, opponents are shooting like 67% or 66% or something around there. Like, these numbers are not sustainable for other teams facing the Celtics defense. I mean, they are doing what they need to do. It's just opponents are just consistently hitting tough shot after tough shot after tough shot after tough shot. Now, obviously, that's not the entire picture, but, just certain statistics like that will tell you that, the Celtics, they're going to kind of regress more towards that top-level defense. And also, Marcus Smart's missed time. Malcolm Brogdon's missed time. Time Lord hasn't even stepped on the court yet for the Boston Celtics as of the recording of this video. Although, from what I hear, he will be back very, very soon. I'm very excited about it. And he's really that guy that's going to be in the front court, but in the back of the defense, obviously. And he's kind of your cleanup guy that, you make a mistake on defense, you miss an assignment, somebody gets to the rim, he's going to be there to clean it up. So, he hasn't even stepped on the court yet. And, obviously Al Horford is one more year older, one more season of wear and tear on his knees. He's not going to be the defender that he used to be in his prime. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they have stepped up as perimeter defenders and as defensive leaders and two-way guys, but they can't do it by themselves. And if Malcolm Brogdon, if Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart and all these other guys are not on the floor, your defense is going to suffer a little bit. And I think the Celtics bench this year has, they've kind of sacrificed a little bit of defense for a little bit more offense. And I think you really needed to do that in the finals, because what they realized, I don't know if you guys kind of saw this, but every game, the Golden State Warriors scored about the same amount of points. Somewhere in the 105 to 112 point range. Somewhere in there. Just about every game, that's where they scored. So if you don't score more, you're going to lose. It didn't matter how good your defense was. It didn't matter who you had on the floor. If you know that the Golden State Warriors, now obviously you don't know this, but looking back on it, the Warriors would score no matter if Steph Curry had a bad game, if Klay Thompson had a bad game, if Jordan Poole had a bad game or good game or whatever. If they all scored around the same amount of points every night, no matter what. So they basically probably looked at that and said, well, look, it didn't matter how good our defense was, you have to score. So yes, you still got Grant Williams coming off of your bench. But other than that, your guys coming off your bench are Derek White, who's another good defender, but he has really blossomed offensively as well this year. Peyton Pritchard, who he's a tenacious defender, but he's undersized, so he's not really going to help you all that much on the defensive end. Sam Hauser, who is long and rangy, but he's not as quick, athletic. He's not as doggedly determined on the defensive end as some other guys might be. And Luke Cornett, who's, long, lanky, but again, not super athletic, not really dogged and determined on the defensive end. He's, you're going to be able to go by him. You're going to be able to get to the rim. That's your bench right now. So, for me, looking at the team this year, they certainly are wanting more offense than defense, and it shows in the numbers. Up until recently, and they may even still be on pace, I haven't looked in the last couple of days, not since before the Chicago game, the Celtics had the best offense ever in terms of numbers up to this point. I mean, you're talking numbers that are ridiculous. Shooting 50% from three as a team, almost. Derek White, who statistically throughout his career has been roughly 29 to 32% three-point shooter, shooting 46% from three. Grant Williams is shooting 50% from three. Sam Hauser shooting 50% from three. Peyton Pritchard shooting 50% from three. Jaylen Brown shooting 40% from three. Tatum has struggled a little bit from three. He's only shooting about 38%. But even 38% is not horrendous. That's not, you're not going to be super concerned about that. Considering Jason Tatum's averaging 30 a night right now, I'm not at all concerned about it. It's just a matter of those shots not going in right now. But, you've got all these, even Al Horford shooting somewhere in the 40 to 42% range from three. You got all these guys that are really putting up numbers. The only guy that's, the only two guys that are really struggling from three right now are Brogdon, who hasn't been on the court all that much, so I'm giving him a pass, and Marcus Smart, who never has been successful really from three-point range, but you can even see that he's gotten better at those transition pull-up threes. He's actually shooting about 38% on those, which, again, not the best number in the world, but for Marcus Smart, that's pretty darn good. At a certain point, you got to at least tip your cap to that, right? But on just I think it's, he's shooting 19% on just catch and shoot threes, which obviously that's going to go up too. He's not going to shoot 19% from three for an entire season if he's open. He's not that bad of a shooter. Nobody in the NBA, quite frankly, would be, well, maybe some of the centers, but, nonetheless, no guard's going to be that bad from three unless you're Ben Simmons. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, so, it's just really, really interesting kind of the difference between the Celtics last year, who solely relied on their defense in a lot of ways, and then this year, not solely relying on their offense, but it does kind of seem that way if you kind of just look at the numbers and you're not really watching the games and you're not really diving into the deeper stats, right? So, again, the Celtics defense has given up a lot of points, but a lot of it is these guys are hitting tough shots. And, you got to expect, if you're doing things right on defense, those numbers are going to come down. And, Malcolm Brogdon is a really good perimeter defender. He's missed a few games. He's missed a ton of games. Al Horford has not played in several games because obviously he's getting up there in age, so they're wanting to rest him a little bit more often. He's, without Robert Williams down there, he's your anchor defensively. He's the guy that's in the back, trying to stop these guys from getting to the rim. And if he's gone, you don't really have much without Rob Williams there. He's missed a few games. Marcus Smart's missed a ton of games. Defensive Player of the Year last year. You lose him, your defense is going to be worse. That's just how it goes. And then obviously, certain other guys that, have played this year, they've struggled a little bit. Look, I watch the games, right? I see Grant Williams able to stay in front of all these guys, get his hands up, do what he can. Guys are just finishing through him, finishing over him. It's not because he's doing anything wrong. It's just these guys are hitting tough shots. These guys are able to take the contact and just muscle their way through it. And again, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have played very, very well this year, as has Grant Williams, as has Al Horford. But at the same time, guys are hitting really, really tough shots. And if you're the Celtics, you're getting open threes, you're getting to the rim, you're getting to the free throw line. Jason Tatum is shooting more free throws this year than any year so far in his career on a per-game basis. Jaylen Brown has improved tremendously from the free throw line. You could tell this offseason specifically, he probably spent a lot of time at the free throw line working on that because he's always been around, 70, 73, 75%. He's shooting in the 80s now, 86, 87% right now. At least last time I looked at it. Obviously, it could have gone down at this point. But, and it's only been a few games. So, obviously, if you miss a few, it's going to go down pretty significantly. But, he's gotten a lot better from the free throw line. And then you obviously have other guys like Pritchard, other guys like Grant Williams that have improved from the free throw line. Al Horford gets to the free throw line at a pretty decent clip in limited minutes. So all these things on offense that you're doing right, and you're getting open shots, you're getting to the free throw line, you're shooting, at the rim. That sustainability over time versus sustainability of your opponents shooting these tough mid-range jumpers, contested threes, really being contested at the rim as best you can with the limited front court, depth that you have, right? Heck, even Blake Griffin's been out there, and yeah, he's never really been the best defender. Right? Quite frankly, he's been a pretty bad one, especially the last few years as he's gotten older and battled injuries. He's not been as quick or as agile. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life right now. Now, I'm not saying that means he's dominating on defense, but he looks like he's certainly put in the work to at least be tenacious and give his all on defense and give all of his effort on the defensive end and at least not be, somebody that you can't play at all because he's just a revolving door on defense like Jabari Parker was at one point in kind of a similar role that Blake Griffin has played throughout this year. So, for me, the sustainability of the Celtics offense, that's real. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to stay as the best offense of all time. That would be an absurd statement to say because they're most likely not going to. I guess you never know. But the sustainability of that versus opponents making all these really tough shots over a period of a season, especially in the postseason, when defense is ramped up to 11, I feel really good about that. That's just me, though. I feel really good about the Celtics. Right now, they're 13-4. They have one of the best records, if not the best record, in all of basketball right now. People were writing the Celtics off once Ime Udoka, got fired and suspended, or maybe at least just suspended for that kind of whole circumstance, which again, that's for another video, but they were writing the Celtics off, and I thought that was just not a good idea. It's not like I predicted Sam Hauser, stepping up and being this good of a shooter and this much of a contributor right away, but they got better this offseason. They went to the NBA Finals, they kept that entire core and added Malcolm Brogdon. At the very least, that was the team that you were going to face. Obviously, to open up the season, you lost Rob Williams, but think about this team when they're fully healthy. I mean, and this is stuff that people knew going into the season. It's not like that they just did it, like, they were talking about it all off season, and then all of a sudden, Ime Udoka leaves in training camp and everybody just and then everybody shows up, right? Like, oh, they got Derek White, they got Rob Williams, no, everybody was there already, so everybody already had this information. Think about this team when it's fully healthy: Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, who obviously now knowing what a contributor he is, Al Horford, Danilo Gallinari got hurt, so that stinks. But I mean, you've got all of these guys. Grant Williams. Can't believe I didn't even mention Grant Williams. I mean, you're 9 or 10 guys deep that, they're not all going to be all-stars, obviously, but these are guys that are capable on any given night of putting up ridiculous numbers. Now, not everybody's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, but we've seen Grant Williams be able to hit 7 or 8 threes in a game if you let him. Al Horford, I mean, just look at the Bucks series. There are games where he scored, almost 30 points. He can do that if you let him. Marcus Smart is a guy, he might not score 30, but he can be a 15 and 8 kind of guy on a nightly basis. He's good at finishing at the rim. When he's hitting his shot from 3, it really spreads out the offense and it really, really bodes well. Derek White had no jump shot basically for his whole career and was still putting up 12 or 13 points a night for the Spurs. And now he's shooting at a 40% clip for the Celtics right now. Now, again, I don't know how sustainable that number is, but I mean, his shot just looks so much better. He looks so much more confident. And I know in press conferences after the season, they said, hey, what are you going to work on? I'm going to work on getting to know the system, and I'm going to work on my shot. I'm going to just shoot and just get better at that. And you could tell that he's done that. You could tell that he's worked on that shot and gotten a lot more comfortable out there in that system. And obviously, somebody like a Malcolm Brogdon, who his driving ability is top notch. It's one of the best in the NBA. And so he's going to be able to open up a lot of lanes for you. I mean, this is not new knowledge for people. This is the team that the Celtics have had. You're talking about a team that went to the finals and were 2 games away from winning the finals. Let's not forget that. At one point, they were up 2-1 in the series and going into game 4 at home. So it's not like the Celtics got demolished so badly in the finals that they had no chance. Sometimes it felt that way by the end, but at one point in the series, it was really looking like the Celtics were going to win the finals. And then in the offseason, they got Malcolm Brogdon. I mean, at the very least, that's going to be one of the top teams in the East. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't be, but still, people were writing them off. People were saying, nope, they're not going to make it to the finals. They're not going to, not that they're not going to make the playoffs, but, you got Milwaukee, you got Cleveland, you got Brooklyn. Everybody wants it to be Brooklyn, man. But look at the tail of the tape. Brooklyn is struggling. Boston is not. I don't know what else these people have to do to show which is the successful kind of system and which is not. I don't care how good on paper the Brooklyn Nets look. It's culture. And the culture in Boston for that team in that locker room is all business. And the Celtics, quite frankly, I don't see a team right now other than maybe Milwaukee, who they are also all business, that's going to have any chance to stop them right now. Now, obviously, we're very early on in the season. If I had said that at this time last year, I would have gotten laughed out of my podcast. I would have gotten everything shut down. People would have stolen my cameras and told me never to open up my mouth again. But you never know what's going to happen. I mean, the New York Knicks, in theory, could win 40 out of their next 50 games and be the best team in the East by the end of the year. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but hey, it might. You never know what's going to happen. So, obviously, take the I don't know who's going to stop them comment with a grain of salt. But right now, there's not a team in the NBA that I look at and I think that they are consistently going to be better. And I definitely don't look at any team in the NBA right now and say that team is going to be better than the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series. I just don't see that right now. I definitely don't see that in the Warriors right now. But granted, they struggled last year as well early on. So we'll see how it goes.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.